CD 1.
About Toothless. Toothless is a green-hided odd toad, and the strategic heart of his brotherhood. While the Minotaurs of the Iron Spires saw him only as a sorting unit, his mind was always working, mapping out the architecture of their prison. He is the engineer who designed the masterpiece, and the leader who saw the Shatterpoint that no one else could find. A note from Toothless. This is the record of how we reclaimed our lives. It is the story of 4 brothers, Appleseed, Fishwings, Hoofclaw, and myself, who were turned into slaves but refused to remain victims. I have written this so that the world knows how we dismantled the pointy world and found our way back to the green. 1. We were captured. The sky was the color of a bruised plum when the iron nets fell. We were the odd toads, grazing in the high meadows where the grass tastes like honey and the wind smells of salt. Then came the pointy ones, minotaurs with armor that rattled like dry bones. They didn't speak, they just hauled on the ropes. I felt the cold bite of the collar first. It was heavy, damp with the sweat of the prisoner who wore it before me. My brothers, Appleseed, Fishwings, and Hoofclaw, were dragged toward the black wagons. The last thing I saw before the wooden shutters slammed shut was the meadow being swallowed by the shadow of the Iron Spires. We were no longer free souls of the continent. We were property. 2. The grinding years. 5 years is a long time to live without seeing the sun. Inside the spires, the world is made of soot and the rhythmic thud-clack of the great drum. They put Appleseed in the treadmills because his legs were like oak trunks. They put Fishwings in the heat, stoking the fires until his blue fur turned the color of old ash. Hoofclaw was sent to the high scaffolds, precarious and trembling in the mountain gales. I was the sorting unit. I sat in the grit, moving shards of obsidian into piles. My hooves grew cracked, and my ribs began to show, but my eyes never stopped moving. I was counting the footsteps of the guards. I was measuring the thickness of the mortar. I was waiting. 3. The secret blueprint. We met in the damp silence of the drainage tunnels when the moon was high and the guards were drunk on fermented grain. In the mud, I drew the masterpiece. It wasn't a map of where we were. It was a map of how we would leave. We began to hoard. A heavy oak plank from a broken cart here. A coil of discarded hemp rope there. Fishwings smuggled jars of black resin from the forge, hidden in the thick mats of his fur. We built it piece by piece. A jagged raft hidden beneath the very trash heaps the Minotaurs ignored. They thought we were broken tools, but we were an engine of escape, buried right under their feet. 4. The Shatterpoint. Every fortress has a heartbeat, and I found the spires. The Great Wall wasn't as strong as it looked. It was top-heavy and rotting from the inside where the salt spray hit the granite. I calculated the stress. If we could divert the wastewater from the upper levels into the foundation cracks, the stone would become a slurry. We waited for the century gale. We needed the wind to push and the rain to soften the earth. On the night the sky turned green, I looked at my brothers and nodded. The blueprint was finished. It was time to break the logic of the pointy world. 5. The Great Escape. The storm roared like a dying god. When the first lightning strike hit the watchtower, we moved. Appleseed threw his weight against the keystones I had marked. The sound wasn't a crack. It was a groan that shook the earth. The Great Wall gave way, disintegrating into a river of mud and stone. We launched the raft into the breach. The black water of the tunnels caught us, spitting us out of the mountain's throat and into the churning sea. I watched the Iron Spires shrink into the mist, a tomb of fire and falling rock. The collars were gone. The chains were at the bottom of the ocean. 6. Find a new home. As the walls crumbled, others of our kind, the furred, the scaled, and the hoofed, emerged from the dust. We pulled them onto the masterpiece until the wood groaned under the weight of 100 survivors. We hoisted a sail made of stitched-together rags and turned our backs on the burning spires. We watched the smoke disappear as the waves carried us toward the unknown. We began sailing away, searching for the green shores of a new home. The end.